This is Business and Economy Network.
Hello Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Ilori, Kano, Kaduna, wherever you are watching the program, I want to say thank you so very much for watching Business and Economy Network. My name is Peter, which is an honor presenting this program to you. Well, we have to go straight. I want to say to those of you who are just joining us for this year, I want to say Happy New Year. Well, for the spotlight today, we are looking at the Honorable Minister of Communication, Barrister Adebayo Shitu. And also, we are looking at the company doing very well for company in focus, a made in Nigeria kind of company. I'm talking about Innoson Group, owners of Innoson Motors. Not left out for straight talk, we are looking at Citec International Estate Limited, an indigenous firm doing very well in the housing and urban development sector of the Nigerian economy. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget this. Success is never by accident. It has to do with perseverance, determination, focus, and with the passion you have. Definitely you'll be successful. All these people I just mentioned, they are all successful. How successful do you want to be? Watch out this program. I'll be back after this time out.
In order to boost local content policy in the ICT industry, the federal government, in conjunction with the Ministry of Communication and Technology, organizes a series of programs and seminars aimed at encouraging local operators in the sector in various areas like application, hardware, services, etc. More so, investors are urged to participate in the drive to promote local content in the industry.
I'm happy that because of the population of Nigeria, which is very huge, and because of the exposure of Nigerians, and because of the drive for business, we have a lot of Nigerian companies. I'm certain there are more local companies in the ICT sector in Nigeria than there are foreign companies. And I can assure you that we are doing all that we can to encourage them. One of the things we've been doing when I came on board, in appreciation of my own lack of knowledge about the industry, I convened a retreat of the ICT industry. More than 400 stakeholders, experts, and gurus, came together for a week at IITA in Ibadan. We exchanged ideas, we discussed, we deliberated on a number of issues, and a lot of presentations were made, from which we have now evolved what is now called an ICT roadmap of the Ministry of Communications for 2016 to 2019. These ICT, roadmap, creates a number of goals and aspirations that we must attain, and one of it includes the encouragement of local content. And again, we have a local content office as part of NIDA to try to encourage local operators in the industry. I am happy to say that after a lot of interactions, the average stakeholder will tell you that this is perhaps the best time they've ever had in the industry, in the relationship between the industry operators and the ministry. We have been collaborating together. We have been creating a lot of platforms and giving them opportunities to give suggestions as to how we can continue to improve on services. Right now, we are encouraging local, patronage of local products and services. In the area of services, in the area of local content, I think Nigeria is making a lot of progress. Remember that today we now have BVN, is a local product. by local Nigerians. Remember, we now have TSA. It's a local product by Nigerians, and these are being exported, and we have a whole lot of other new innovations and programs which are locally produced but which are of application, of universal application. In the area of hardware production, I know that about 2 or 3 companies are already working hard to assemble, laptops and some, handheld devices. We have not gone much in it because in the area of industrialization generally, our steel industry is still at its lowest ebb, and even our plastic industry, because a lot of casing and all of that have to be done. We are encouraging new investors to come in and establish local assembly plants and so on, so that will boost, our local content policy. We must, however, appreciate that we have a long way to go because of the perception of the average Nigerian. Look at what is happening to rice. Government is almost literally forcing Nigerians to eat local rice because Nigerians will prefer Thailand rice or Indian rice to local, rice produced. I know that if Elubo, that is yam flour, were to be produced overseas, so many Nigerians will prefer this entanglement with obsession. That thing is one we are working hard to ensure that Nigerians love what is Nigeria, and that Nigerians also patronize, what is Nigeria. On my part, I've always committed myself to the fact that anytime I am convinced that we have enough local capacity in the production of any particular hardware, I will initiate legislation to discourage importation.
For years now, the NIPOST has been lying underutilized. Presently, according to the Honorable Minister of Communication, measures are being put in place to reform and revive the services of NIPOST, especially with focus in most remote areas and villages in Nigeria, with special focus to the followings: NIPOST banking and insurance facilities, NIPOST transportation and logistics services, NIPOST property and development, NIPOST e-government services, etc., as seen in other developed and developing countries.
Now, before I came on board as Minister of Communications, I could not have I didn't imagine that NIPOST would still be breaking even in terms of the operations. But coming on board, I have seen that, among others, because there's a law of the stamp duties, which makes it obligatory on them, to collect duties on agreements made. A lot of money is coming in on that. Of course, a number of major companies, particularly in relation to postage of share certificates, also do a lot of business. Companies are growing in Nigeria, and I know that NIPOST is still making a lot of money in carriage of a lot of documents, particularly for a number of companies. But appreciating the limitations that NIPOST currently has, particularly with regard to the introduction of GSM, I have initiated some reform of NIPOST, and I believe that by the time these reforms come on board full blown, what NIPOST currently does will be just about 10% of what they will be doing. Some of the reforms we are working on is about establishing the NIPOST banking and insurance services. What informs this, you would ask? Today in Nigeria, more than half of the 774 local governments we have do not have banking services in these localities. And you would agree with me that most Nigerians live in the rural areas. This scenario, the result of this scenario is that most Nigerians are either unserved or underserved with financial services. They are excluded from financial services, and that means they don't have banks to save their money. They don't have banks from where they can take credits. They don't have banks from where they can do various other banking transactions. And we felt that since NIPOS is all over the place, at least in more than 1,500 locations across this country, we could introduce some form of banking into NIPOS services, so that in every hamlet, every village where there's a NIPOS facility, there could also be some form of banking services. So that, for instance, if you live in Abuja and you have your parents living in a remote village where of course there's a postal agency, you should be able to go to a post office in Abuja, send money to your loved ones at home, and in real time the money is being gotten through ICT deployment. I mean that, so this is one of the reforms we are trying to bring on board, to have, NIPOS banking and insurance services, as is done in China, South Korea, and a few other developed countries. Another reform we are bringing into NIPOS is what is called NIPOS Transport and Logistics Services. NIPOS necessarily has vehicles which carries mails from one place to the other. We think this could be commercialized to make it possible for these NIPOS transport facilities to also carry passengers and to help people carry merchandise, to various locations across the country. Again, this will create more jobs and bring in new revenue for the federal government. We are also looking at establishing NIPOS property and development, services. You agree with me that in many NIPOS locations, there's always excess land, unutilized, unused. We think these pieces of land can be identified, an inventory of it can be made, and then we lease them to private, developers to develop these pieces of land into shopping complexes, office complexes, markets, and even garages, such that we will be sharing profit or revenue arising from this development, for the federal government. Again, we are looking at the area of e-commerce. For now, individual companies engage in e-commerce activities. NIPOS has better name than all these individual companies because NIPOS is as old as Nigeria. So we could also utilize NIPOS for e-commerce services. And definitely, if you are in Abuja, you want to buy something from Maiduguri, instead of traveling there, you go through NIPOS, make your purchases from any part of the world, pay online, and get your merchandise or your goods delivered to you in the nearest NIPOS, agency around you. Again, we are looking at establishing NIPOS e-government services. You want to renew your driving license, you want to renew your passport, international passport, you want to do a whole lot of other governmental things where you have to pay. Instead of having to travel to the capital of the state, why don't you go just to a NIPOS facility, get registered online, you do all your application, and then your registration is done or your renewal is done at that location. So these are some of the things we are planning as part of the entire reform package of NIPOS.
For your deep and insightful business information around Nigeria and globally, keep watching Business and Economy Network.
Innoson Group of companies, which is today known as an automobile giant in Nigeria, started as a small-scale business, majorly in auto spare parts trading, and over a period of years ventured into the assembly of motorcycles. Having been the number 5 motorcycle assembly company, Innoson Motorcycle were the only indigenous firm amongst the other ones. In the bid to bring down the cost of buying motorcycles, the brand also manufactures most motorcycle rubber components here in Nigeria.
My name is Mr. Innocent Ifediaso Chukuma, Chairman, Innoson Group. This journey was started one day And I started by trading on motorcycle spare parts. After some time, I trade on both motorcycle and motor. After some time, I started motorcycle assembling. When I started motorcycle assembling in Nigeria, and the 5th company that started motorcycle assembly in Nigeria. When I started, there's only 4 companies that do it in Nigeria, and the 4 companies all foreign companies. One is one that representing Yamaha. They are called Yamaco. Leventis is in charge of Honda, and Bluos is in charge of Suzuki, and then CFOO is in charge of Mobile and Kawasaki. My own is the 5th one that is in charge of Innoson motorcycle and other brands. So when I started, I look at their prices. It was very expensive. I look where and find out why it is expensive, because of they brought motorcycle in crate. When they brought it in crates, it means one container of motorcycle will be 36 units in one container. But when I went to overseas, I make it in pieces. I pack 220, 240 in one container. So automatic, my price is half of their own. Because of their own, I have a lot of expenses. So from 150,000 they are selling, I dropped the motorcycle price from 80 to 60. People, because before people are facing to use second-hand motorcycle because of high cost of motorcycle. But this idea I introduced make the motorcycle price to come down from 150 to 80. When I discovered again that motorcycle has a lot of plastic component, I think that the way to reduce the price more is to think of making the plastic component on the motorcycle. That's why I set this plastic plant to make motorcycle component. That is my first reason of setting this plant. When I set this plant, I discovered that the plant is big to only rely on producing only motorcycle components. I add plastic upholstery, plastic items. In fact, most of the plastic things we have made here. Today, this plastic factory, is the largest plastic factory in West Africa. In some of the other African countries, we produce certain items that they cannot do in their own country. In Nigeria here, there are so many items only this factory can produce in all the West Africa. So when such demand comes, we get the demand. And immediately we make this plastic component for the motorcycle, we drop our motorcycle price from 80 to 60. That's where the motorcycle crash. So the motorcycle price becomes very cheap for everybody, and the people enjoyed it. Now I look at the motor. Because of my long time experience on the components, I feel that I can be able to build a motor plant. I start the motor plant and finish the motor plant and test everything was fine. What I did is that what difference between my factory and any motor plant in the whole world is only that there are some areas they will put automatic machine to be doing it automatic. But my own, that area of automatic, I make it manual. Something can go travel by itself to another section. I make my own manual that I will push it to that section. So the same production, the same system. My motor plant and any plant in the world is the same thing. The only difference is that in some area they can make it automatic. They can make it robot. So they here, because of my interest, number one is that Nigerians is idle, they don't have work. I want people to work. I don't want to make it robot. I want people to work so that they can pay them. They'll be happy. So today, my plant is working very well. My motor vehicle, people that are using it are very happy with it. Everybody is happy with it. So I'm happy that they have achieved it.
The firm have its 4 manufacturing plants situated in Enugu and Anambra states of Nigeria, with a total number of 3,000 workers, mainly indigenous.
Today, I have 4 manufacturing plants in Nigeria. I have 2. I have 3 in Enugu here. I have the motor plant in Nnewi. I have where I'm producing some of the motor components that can help us to produce our vehicle. We have a plant that produces something items, and also we produce all the plastic components in this very factory. And also I have another plant where I am producing motorcycle tires. Because that time I make the plant for motorcycle tire because of I'm into motorcycle. But today I'm going to develop it more to motor tires. So in near future we will produce both motor tire in that factory because we keep the space for it. My total Nigerians working in my factory is 7,300 workers are working in all my factory.
Innoson has in its array vehicles ranging from buses of different sizes, pickup vans, SUVs. Meanwhile, there is a plan to set up a vehicle engine manufacturing plant in the near future so as to achieve 100% made in Nigeria vehicle.
I have buses from 7-seater bus, 15-seater bus, 23-seater bus, 26-seater bus, 30-seater bus, 33-seater bus, 43-seater bus to 50-seater bus. That's what we have. Well, this is the buses. And also we have pickup, 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive. And also we have SUV that can carry 5. We have G5, we have G6 of SUV, and all my motor is with full air condition. I have a car we call Uno. I have a car we call Fuchs. All those ones, people that are using it are very happy with it. So I believe in future. My target now is that there is a quantity I can be able to produce in 1 year. I will call the engine maker to send an engine plant in Nigeria together with me. But we haven't reached to that quantity. Immediately we sell up to so quantity, the engine maker will cooperate with us. We make engine here easily. So by then, everything will be 100% made in Nigeria.
Financial institutions are doing little to assist real estate developers. They want to go to where their money can come back overnight, and real estate funding, it's a long-term investment. So most banks are not very useful at this time, and it is necessary for the government to ensure that banks are compelled to lend, no matter how little the percentage, to the real estate sector, because that is the truth. You know, there's a lot that is stalled in real estate that can be liberated in this country. You know, even when you are doing business with a private concern and they're prepared to give you an advance payment, banks will still ask you to go and collateralize that money as if you are taking a fresh loan. You know, so I think banks should look into this and see how they can reduce, you know, all these requirements that will eventually be passed to the final consumer of these homes, either as tenants or as buyers. that's I just mentioned to you that we try to produce a substantial part of our homes, maybe up to over 60%, to conform with the National Housing Fund. So once you have an account with any PMI, Primary Mortgage Bank, and of course, you know, the PMI is also funded by the Apex Bank, the Federal Mortgage Bank. Once you have an account there, and also you have about between 10 and 20% deposit, depending on the house types and the price, then you have to fall in line. That's the more reason why we're saying that unless the Federal Mortgage Bank is fully capitalized or recapitalized, then access to the loan by more people, you know, will be hindered. But as soon as they have the opportunity to recapitalize, then many more people will have access to. And again, I also note that a few states are not even contributing to the fund, and this is a misnomer. I think they are not really truly well informed why they should join the National Housing Fund and make contributions. Again, there might also be need for even the contribution to be reviewed, you know, because 2.5% can actually not go far, you know. But again, also the Federal Mortgage Bank must take steps to refund those who are not likely to ask for the loans. So if we can balance the equation this way, you know, there are many more people who have access. But if you have invisible means of livelihood, if you have an account with any PMI and you have been consistent for almost a year or so, then you can be profiled and be shortlisted for owning a house in Citec.
This is Business and Economy Network.
Well, yeah, this very time will permit us. I want to say thank you so very much for all of you that called in to make inquiries and also to celebrate with us. I want to say thank you so very much. Well, all the wonderful players we've watched, the company we have profiled, more importantly, one I want to take out is that of Innoson. That factory you just watched is here in Nigeria and is just very close by, not so far, Anambra, Nnewi to be precise. It is very possible you can achieve your dream with passion. That is what that man started. He's not so educated. Take away education aside, with your passion, definitely the sky will be your limit. Always think of what you can do for your nation and not what your nation will always do for you. Stay blessed till we meet again next week.